I found that pilots really here fail to descend because of a visual illusion that happens in your window. So remember, you're going to be flying this from the left seat, and so you'll be looking at 3-1 right out of that left window. And what happens is when you begin your turn to a heading of 0-5, and then when you begin your turn again to a runway heading, which will be 3-1-5, the left side of the aircraft, you're banking left. So the left side starts to go down, and then the runway out your window starts to go up in your window, and we basically interpret that as we're low. And so we fail to descend already thinking that we're low, and ultimately when we roll out on final, we figure out, oh, I guess I'm not low, I'm actually kind of high. And then you get the sink rate, and of course your instructor and or examiners in the back shaking their head thinking, what is this pilot doing? So what you could do to try to save yourself the embarrassment of that is, if you decide to keep the autopilot on for the approach, basically once you level off here on the 045, give yourself a nice descent of -200 to 300 foot per minute using the vertical speed wheel on the MCP. If you elect to disengage the autopilot, then once you disconnect it, give yourself 1 or 2 clicks of nose down trim to kind of get yourself going down and force yourself away from the illusion and really try to stay on the profile. Now the next failure that we always see is a failure to line up with runway 31 right, and typically what always happens is that the flight crew actually begins their turn to line up with the runway too late, and so you end up overshooting, and then again trying to salvage it and come back, you get bank angle, and then again, of course, the instructor and or examiners in the back saying, what is this pilot doing? And so the way you can prevent that is just turn early. You're always better off turning early on this approach and undershooting, because if you undershoot, all you got to do really is level your wings off until you recapture and come back in. But if you overshoot, you're going to have to really crank the bank in. You risk getting the bank angle call out, and you just salvage yourself the embarrassment. Turn early, and it will really help you get on this approach nice and stable. The third item was a failure to set missed approach altitude. So remember back here, when you get wings level here on a heading of 100, you're also going to have altitude hold, and this is the appropriate time to go ahead and set your missed approach altitude, because what you'll find out if you don't is that when you come over here and you roll on that heading of 045, if you did not set the missed approach altitude and you're still at your circling minimums of 640, which in the MCP would be 700, you're not going to be able to roll the vertical speed wheel down, because the only way vertical speed mode engages on our autopilot is if our MCP altitude is different than what the current altitude is in our altimeter. And if I have at 600 set in the MCP and a matching 600 in my altimeter, or 700 rather, then vertical speed mode will not engage, and while you try to figure out why it's not engaging, you're getting high on the profile, and you're ultimately going to end up disconnecting it, turning final, and then you're still high, you're going to get the sink rate. So don't forget, set the missed approach altitude whenever you have altitude hold back here on that heading of 100 so that you avoid that problem.